Hi friends, it's Mr. Greg here. I am outside with my garden and I'm just going to walk you through one of my semi-daily routines, or semi-weekly should I say, routines of how I take care of my garden and potting um, a new vegetable into a bigger pot to prepare it to come outside. So as you can see, Mr. Greg hasn't been able to go to the barbershop, so you guys will hear me, you won't see me as much. So come along as we take this journey together. So right now, you guys can see I created a bit of a greenhouse to keep my plants in my garden nice and warm when it's cold outside at night. Because sometimes when it's cold, the plants can't grow properly because they get a little frozen in the ground. So the greenhouse would help protect the roots as well as the leaves. Keeps all the moisture and humidity underneath the plastic, so our plants can soak up all the nutrients from the sun and they can stay warm. So what I'm getting ready to do now, I'll get a little closer so you guys can see. And these are vegetables that I planted last year. Some of them have already started to regrow, and then some of them haven't come up yet. But here on this first row, I have my kale. As you can see, this one right here is nice and green, and the other ones are brown because they haven't finished sprouting for this season yet. So when the seasons change, a lot of the plants and vegetables and gardens, and even outside, a lot of trees and flowers, you can see that they kind of fall away and they dry out, and it's because the seasons change and the temperatures change. And most of our plants and vegetables, they kind of hibernate like our friend in our book, the Big Brown Bear. They go into a hibernation where they stay underground until it's warm enough for them to come back outside, and then they regrow. So here we have our kale. Right in front of it we have our cabbage. In the next row you can see a little one right here. That is our rainbow chard, which turns colors and is very pretty once it grows. In the back we have some asparagus. Asparagus usually take about 3 years to grow, so this will be the second year, so we have one more year before it grows up totally. And way in the far back we have some southern collard greens, and we got those southern collard greens from our friendly gardener next door at the church, Mrs. Deborah. So what I'm getting ready to do right now, and I have my trusty water hose, and as you can see, Mr. Greg is trying to stay safe and secure, so he has on some rubber gloves. I have my settings on shower, and now I'm about to water my garden. Let's go. Want to make sure you saturate them and get them nice and wet, so you don't have to come out here and water them every day. So I do this maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, just so they could stay very hydrated. Plants love water just as much as they love sunshine. And I know you guys are probably wondering why I'm watering the garden when it's been raining, but because we have the greenhouse on the plants, they don't get any of the rain that has been coming down recently. So I have to come out here and manually water them to make sure that they're drinking their water. I'm gonna make sure I get underneath here so I can get all the way in the back to my collard greens, because those are good. With some smoked turkey, very good to eat. And then what I like to do, once I get them nice and wet and make sure that it's pretty saturated, I'm sorry for my angle. Once I make sure that they're nice and wet, what I do, I spray the top so it's almost like it's raining. so everybody gets wet. So friends, now that we have our big garden watered and out of the way, I'm now going to work on my smaller plant. And this right here is sweet basil, and I love sweet basil. I use it a lot when I make compound butters. I use it a lot when I make pasta with tomato sauce. It's really, really good. It's a very nice herb. It's inexpensive, and it's pretty easy to grow and to maintain. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take it out of this small pot and then place it in the larger pot. I'm going to put them side by side so you can see the difference in the pot size. So we have this tiny little pot here, and we're going to put it in this huge pot here. And this pot right here has a little opening, and that lets a lot of the water. So if it rains or if it gets oversaturated with water, it could escape and go down there, and it can come out. So this is going to be really, really fun. What I did, I already filled the pot up with some new soil. And one thing that we've learned, we don't call it dirt. Dirt is what you have in your house or in the gymnasium or on the ground, and you sweep it up to get out of your house. Soil is what you use to plant your vegetables and flowers and plants and things of that nature in. So here I have some nice soil with a little bit of styrofoam pieces in it to just give it a little filtration and a little drainage, so a lot of water doesn't get stuck in there. And these things here, you see, they're little twigs and roots and things of that nature, which we call compost or mulch. And it's another way that we can feed our plants and our vegetables. What I was hoping to do with you all was to start a compost bin with my red wiggler worms, but because we had been having a very cold winter, they couldn't send them to me in the mail. So maybe next year we'll try to do the red wiggler compost so you can see how compost is made. But since I have my soil all together here, what I'm going to do is kind of move it around so I could make a spot for our new plant to rest in, to call home. So now that I've made a spot there, I'm going to take our basil and empty it out of the container, and then I'm going to place it right in there. So, and this is a good way too to make sure that it can fit. You can just stick the whole container in there. Now, if this was a biodegradable container, which basically means that it's earth friendly and it would deteriorate and provide nutrients in the ground as it decomposes through time, I would be able to just stick it in there and just cover it with the soil and let it go that way. But this is plastic, so it's not really good for our dirt, nor is it our soil, nor is it good for our plants. I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to let you guys see so you can make out the different parts of our plants. Wow, this is very nice. I'm going to pick that up, guys. So I'm going to lay it right here so you guys can see. So this right here, I know my friends are very smart, so I know that they know what this part of the plant is called, but I'm just going to remind our friends who may not know. This part here is the stem. The stem is pretty much the body of the plant or flower. Then we have here at the top, we have our petals or our leaves. And then right here, as you can see in our soil, we have the roots. And the roots are what goes underneath the ground into the soil and helps the stems grow nice and strong so it can produce nice and pretty leaves. So now that I have it out and we discuss the parts of our plant, I'm going to stick it right here in the dirt, in soil, I'm sorry friends, and press it down. I'm so used to calling it dirt. When I was a kid, that's what I thought it was. I thought it was dirt, but it is actually soil. So please forgive me for saying dirt. It is in fact soil. So I want to make sure that it is pressed down. I'm going to enlarge it just a little bit. Okay, this is much better. Now you all can see exactly what I'm doing. So I'm pressing it down, pressing it down, pressing it down. Pressing it down. And now I'm going to take our hose and put a little of our water in it to give it some water so it could fit right into its new home, nice and comfy. You don't want to give it a whole lot of water, but just enough so it's wet all the way through. Okay, so it's still very cold outside, so I'm not going to leave it outside just yet. I'm going to take it back in the house and let it rest and grow some more inside, and then when the weather changes, maybe around the end of April, May, I can bring it outside. And when I bring it outside, it'll sit right here in this stand. And I have some more vegetables out here that have not regrown yet. This right here is my rosemary. This right here is my lavender. It hasn't resprouted yet. I'm going to put another plant here. And then over here, I have my mint that grows so very wild. So I hope you all have enjoyed our day outside in the garden with Mr. Greg, and I will be back with you all shortly.